It's estimated that our population take, on average, 1 trillion photographs per year. Usually these photos are the usual shots of family holidays, selfies or nature. However, there are some photographs that were taken which have become more mysterious as the years go by. Some of these shots are paranormal, while others are quite dark and disturbing. The following photographs are full of secrets and sentimentality. Let's take a look at 7 mysterious stories behind these photos. Number 7. Skyscraper Men. Known as one of the most iconic photographs in history, this image showcases a group of men eating their lunch while sitting on a steel girder dangling hundreds of feet above New York. Although this is a famous image, most folks would like to know its history, like who took it. And the answer is nobody knows, and whoever did take the photo is probably dead. For many years the photo was credited to Louis Hine, but recent research has discredited him. Another possible candidate could be the Rockefeller Center's old photographic director, Charles C. Ebbets. Other possibilities are Thomas Kelly and William Lethbridge, or none of the above. We just don't know. Then there's the question of the actual men in the photos' identities. As with the photographer, 3 of the men are anonymous. In 2012, 8 names were positively identified as, from left to right, Joseph Eckner, Michael Brini, Albie Svensson, John Patrick Madden, Stretch Donahue, Francis Michael Rafferty, Joe Curtis and Gustav Popovich. But what about the other 3 guys who would have gone to their graves never knowing that they were in one of the 20th century's greatest pictures? As time passes, there's even less a chance of ever knowing their names. However, there is one nice fact about the photo: nobody fell off. Number 6. The identity of the first man photographed. In 1838, Louis Daguerre, a Parisian, was experimenting with his newly invented camera on a nearby rooftop and snapped a picture of the street and inadvertently took a snapshot of a resident who looked like he was having his shoes shined in the Boulevard du Temple, where the man had no idea that history was in the making as the first person to be photographed. Because the exposure time took so long, 7 minutes, all the traffic became invisible. If our Parisian man had not stood still for the 7 minutes, he too would have been invisible, leaving the appearance of an empty street. Yet we know nothing about him, absolutely nothing: his occupation, family life and origins. Maybe he was just a visitor to Paris, or maybe not having his shoes shined at all, but posing next to a water pump. The reason the shoeshine boy is not in the image is because the boy would have moved too quickly to be captured. For all we know, the whole street could have been busy, but because everything was on the move, the only objects photographed were stationary ones, like our man. Number 5. The unknown Margate family. In 2015, the National Museum of Scotland acquired a collection of Victorian-era photographs. Most were random shots of men and women in suits and long dresses, all with stern expressions. But as with many old photos, some stand out from the rest. In the collection were images of the same family on holiday in Margate, then a popular holiday resort in Kent. As the viewer progressed through the images, they would have noticed the same family members getting older, the children getting taller, and suddenly a new baby being added to the shot. It was observing the life story of an entire family, yet sadly we know absolutely nothing about them. The picture has absolutely no identification and no clue as to who this family were, but we do know they were taken by a professional photographer called W. Calder, and we know this because this name appears in the background of one of the photos. Maybe the photographer left his own photographic record of his clients with the names and addresses. However, if he had, maybe they have since been destroyed, or hopefully the records are sitting in someone's basement or attic just waiting to be discovered. We see the family posing, resting and playing. We can observe their joys, their lives and their children's growth until it all comes to a sudden end. It's like we need to know who this family were And why did they stop going on holiday to Margate? As in all of our lives, we all want a happy ending. And we'd like to think that this mysterious family had a happy ending to this photographic story. Number 4. The Grim Sleeper Women. The Grim Sleeper was a vicious serial killer who preyed mostly on black women in the Los Angeles area and is thought to have murdered at least 11 people in 25 years, and some say the number could be much higher. At present, there is a suspect called Lonnie Franklin Jr. who's due to be tried this summer. When he was arrested, the LAPD found over 180 photos of women in his home, where it appears most have been taken in his house or car. In many of the photos, the victims appeared to be asleep or unconscious or possibly dead. There is only one fortunate survivor who claims she was photographed in his car, then shot and sexually assaulted. After the photos were discovered in 2010, police have identified nearly all of the victims. Unfortunately, not all of the women have been identified, and LAPD's official website still carries a graphic slideshow of 38 unknown people taken from the Grim Sleeper's collection. Some of the pictures were taken in bright daylight outside his house, while others are far darker. 4 of the photographed women appear to be unconscious, while another unfortunate soul looks like she's reacting in stark terror to something unseen. The tragedy of the unknown photos is that the police have no idea of their fate. Number 3. The truth behind the falling Spanish soldier photo. There is a famous image during the Spanish Civil War in 1936 of a Republican soldier falling from a gunshot wound. It is one of the most iconic photos of the war taken by Robert Capa, but it's also been fiercely debated as to the validity of the photo. Was it a genuine image, or did Capa fake the shot? In 2009, a Spanish daily called El Periódico analysed the photo and pinpointed the location outside the town of Espacio. Although the war did eventually come to Espacio, it did not get drawn into the conflict until 3 weeks after the photo appeared in the press. To add further doubt, Capa's negatives that were discovered in the mid-90s appeared to show many staged pictures taken at the same time, suggesting this famous image was also staged. However, the International Centre for Photography still believes the picture to be authentic. Other experts have a theory that it was originally a stage shot that unfortunately for the soldier turned real when the sniper picked him off while he was posing. Until proof emerges, or the soldier turns up alive, albeit a very, very old man by now. Either way, the story behind the war's most famous photograph will remain a mystery. Number 2. The tourist in the Reagan Red Square photo. In 1988, Ronald Reagan was taken to Red Square in Moscow to meet some local Russians. At the same time, a White House photographer was filming the president shaking hands with a young boy. In the background was a blonde, geeky-looking observer with an uncanny resemblance to a young Vladimir Putin. However, it was not until 2009 that somebody had noticed the photograph and the possibility that the young man in the background was Putin. However, it was immediately disclaimed by the Russians. But rumours persisted for many reasons, and the most important fact was that at that time Putin was a member of the KGB, and the Russians would dress their members up as ordinary civilians to blend in with the crowd and no doubt observe other Russians communicating with the American president or other Westerners. Another reason is that it really does look like a younger version of the current leader of Russia, and Peter Souza, who took the picture, insists that the blonde man is a young Putin. However, Putin spokespeople strenuously deny the encounter, stating that Putin would have been working in Dresden at the time. Number 1. The Wem Ghost. This picture was taken in 1995 by Tony O'Reilly, a farm worker and amateur photographer. O'Reilly took the picture while standing across the street as a 90-year-old building in Wem, Shropshire, burnt down. O'Reilly claimed that it was only after the film was developed that the little girl appeared. The photo is now famous and is known as the legend of the Wem Ghost. Locals said that the girl was 14-year-old Jane Cherm, who accidentally started a disastrous fire in Wem in 1677. Could it be that the fire of 1995 somehow brought out the ghost of the young girl who had started the original fire on the same premises over 300 years before? And was the child's spirit trapped by the fire, or did the fire of 1995 finally release her spirit?